like little tree frog hands without your nails. That didn't go over so big.
Yeah, no, you might want to find another way to say that next time.
She's kind of, it's like that. Like she could climb the walls, but if she was stuck, her nails were like starting to crack. And I'm convinced that you ladies are better off about every other month taking a week off with nothing on your nails. Let them breathe.
Wendell Geigle, good morning. So
that's just me.
Back towards the end of April, two ladies that were running home beauty salons were arrested. They had apparently solicited for business over social media. A couple of cops undercover posed as clients, went in.
And did they arrest them after they got their hair done?
I don't know. Those details weren't in.
Here's the evidence. Got a little beehive thing going.
Well, you need some pictures of that,
right? But
I think one got eyelashes done, the other one got nails done. So they weren't even getting hair done. It was.
They act like they're getting a happy ending or something. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go 6 weeks without eyelashes. I don't know what the deal is there, but I mean, this thing got no attention, none.
It made me.
Nobody seemed to care. Is it because it was a home-based business and there weren't all the employees that were also relying on them? Is it because that the woman in Dallas, Shelley Luther, and don't get me wrong, I don't blame her at all. I believe she had a right to do what she wanted to do. Hang on, caller. We'll get to you in a second here.
Hang on a second, Jeff.
Is it because she's in suburban Dallas and Dallas is just a bigger city?
You know what it is?
What is it?
It's the fact that it's two Hispanic women in Laredo and nobody cared. The somewhat striking blonde Anglo woman in cosmopolitan Dallas. Well, it's a travesty. It's a sham. It's a mockery.
And these two ladies, for violating the mayor of Laredo's order, face 180 days in jail and a couple $1,000 fine, or both, for violating the Class B misdemeanor.
Nobody's doing GoFundMe. No GoFundMe for them.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Think about it, folks.
Dan Patrick didn't offer to pay their bail, from what I understand.
It's an interesting story of how politics kind of comes in opportunistically.
James Kerr says he saw that they were released hours later and the judge said they shouldn't have been arrested. Fair enough. But the fact that they were, let's not forget, we were covering maybe not we, media in general, were covering the Shelley Luther story
the day it happened.
The day she opened up. Yeah. And I mean, and she may have planned this a little bit and perpetrated some media favor. I mean, there was a PR spin to this thing. Don't get me wrong with her, because we knew her every move, right?
Right. Let's see what we got here. You want to? I think it's our councilman, right?
It's just interesting to see how.
I agree 100%.
That all plays out. Morning, Wade and Carter. Good morning.
That's City Councilman Jeff Botnight.
Jeff, how are you, sir? Good. Doing well this morning.
I got to ask you, Councilman, what kind of program are you running down there that you guys are having contentious discussions and meetings that lasted 4 hours? But what's going on down there at City Council? Do you feel that you made some headway? Okay, because I listened to about the first hour and 20 minutes of. I listened until Raleigh went to the restroom. Right. I think that's awesome. Which may be the best option now that Texas is opening up a little bit more. Let's see what happens.
What are your constituents telling you? Have you heard feedback from them?
Us too. That's the feedback we've gotten from everybody that's commented to us. Yeah, I like the idea, or if I could get past the idea that city government shouldn't be involved in the banking business at all. Once I get past that and say, okay, if I play the well, we've got to do something card, and I'm willing to do something with taxpayer money, I certainly don't want some nondescript amount of money that's going to be in a dreamer fund that these people keep capitalizing on loan origination fees. And I would just loan the money, get the money back, put it back in the city's coffers. That's what I would try to do.
Were tax cuts talked about for small business, locally owned, or for all business in Victoria? Was that something that was discussed?
I like that. I mean, I applaud all of you guys. I like to have fun with it, but I applaud all of you guys for doing the brainstorming. And obviously, you've all solicited outside, input from constituents and business leaders here in town. I think you've done a great job. My, I guess my easiest statement would be just let's open up Victoria and let it get back to work and let the market go to work on our behalf. That'd be the key thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the other part of it that really there's still some control because we're not allowed to open all the way up yet, but I think you're going to have a large segment of the population still that are going to be fearful of being around people.
Right. And yet I see them at HEB every day. I mean, they're fearful about being around people. They're, excuse me, get those pork chops. I mean, it's all, you want to talk about herd immunity, drive by Dairy Treat. People are like, I need a sherbet. I need it now. There's like 800 people standing in the parking lot. It looks like a drive-through church over there.
It might be.
Right? Wow.
There you go.
We all know Craig Logger now. We can reach out to Craig Logger and just say, hey, Craig, you need a little help. Need some help. And they're not a sponsor and they don't compete with any of our sponsors, but I have to tell you, isn't Dairy Treat just a treasure? Is that not just one of the greatest places in Victoria? Do you still not feel like a little kid when you go there?
There aren't many places you can walk up to and order from the window outside like that. I mean, that's old school burger joint.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So he says y'all can make your own rules, but if there's conflict, his rule trumps yours.
Okay. Well, appreciate you following up. Thanks for doing your homework.
But you know what? We're just not going to take that, Greg Abbott. We're going to run this city. Because we built this city on rock and roll.
You can't arrest us all, Greg Abbott.
Yeah.
So well, I appreciate the call. Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff, thanks so much. Have a safe
too.
weekend.
Thank you.
Be good, brother. Bye-bye. So that's
Councilmember Jeff Balknight. Apologize to the YouTube listeners and viewers who can't hear those calls.
Basically,
we're working on that.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. Basically, he said they looked at a couple of different scenarios. One that would return sales tax money back to small businesses in the form of grants of up to $5,000. The other was Lift Fund came back and they said, why are we bothering? Let's not deal with Lift Fund, since they weren't willing to take the Dream Maker Fund off the table, because they kind of sat around and said, we're dealing with a COVID crisis now. This emergency is not the place to be setting up things for future.
So before we go to break, and I'll handle it quickly, why can't you and I, okay, folks, when we first started doing this show, I had like an iPhone 8, and we found a way literally to lean it against something, and we thought this would be fun. Let's experiment with putting this on Facebook. We did it with a phone.
Yep.
And then we got the iPad, and then later on, through our buddy Nick Stewart,
I haven't heard how he's doing in Panhandle, Florida. They get some wildfires through there.
We got the iRig, which allows you to get board quality sound through the Facebook video, which is pretty high tech. Yeah. That's pretty good stuff. It's pretty good stuff. Why can't we flatten the curve on our YouTube? We're doing the same monotony on YouTube now. Well, we're using the laptop camera and the picture's backwards and the sound sucks.
I'm going to figure out how to get the sound from the board to there. You can't use a mobile device for YouTube.
Right. Why is that? That's TikTok,
we don't have,
I guess.
No, you can. We don't have enough subscribers to be able to use a mobile device.
Okay, you hear that, folks? If we get more subscribers, then we can flatten the curve on this deal. You have to have 1,000 subscribers to kind of get a little clout with YouTube. And, we're at 47. So if you'd like to reach out to your kids, neighbors, cousins, and just go, hey, just go.
But if half of our followers on Facebook went over and subscribed on YouTube, we're there.
Just go to YouTube and click subscribe, hit waiting card and click subscribe. It's free. It's free. It's gratis.
So, anyway, that's
what we need.
That's the nuts and bolts of it for you.
There's your buddy Diane Tippett.
Yeah, real quick, let's see who else is in. Brennan Anderson, Sheriff Lauterbach. There's my beautiful wife Cheryl. Good morning. Dwayne Payne checking in. Hi, Kathleen Berlanga, Joe Mitchell, Katina Arterberry, Greg Garcia, Michael Terrell, Marty Stockbauer.
Hi, Marty.
Trey Molina.
Funky Trey Molina. There's no great segue needed, folks. Alan's Record
today
Service.
I was trying to think of one. Couldn't go up.
578-6300. That's the only number you need to know when your car won't go. If you ladies are out there, you should type in AAAA Allen's and put 578-6300, because when you have that fender bender, when your car won't go, when you need help, it'll be at the top of your phone list. 578-6300. That's Allen's Record Service.
VCS Rocket Oil Field Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. Great deals on phones. They're still providing curbside service if that's the way you prefer to do business right now for your safety, of safety of others in your family. The only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer right there on Kerr Boulevard, owned and operated by the Hartman family. Will meet you at your car. They will do business the way you want to do business. They're responsive that way, and that's kind of the way they've been. You don't survive and grow to become the empire they become without being reactive and adaptive to your customers' needs.
Well, they started out with ranch radios, two-way radios, and now they do everything. Now you can walk into a room and go, and your lights come on.
Exactly.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
And it all started
with the clapper. Radio. Right, the clapper. SCT Building Systems, Clayton and Casey help, making your home, barn dominium, she shed, make all those dreams come true. 564-8864.
From start to finish, from moving the dirt out of the way to get your foundation poured to putting it all back, making it look nice with the landscaping, they can do it all.
We said something nice about him yesterday. You said, I like that. What was that?
You said it because I didn't, and I don't remember.
I don't remember, Ash.
I'm getting old.
It was
I don't
true, though.
remember. Yeah. No, it really was. They do great service. They do great work. You're going to talk to the owners. You're going to talk to those who are going to be involved every step of the way. That's always a nice peace of mind when you enter into some large project. Like
Basically, as with all of our sponsors,
Very much so.
local and family-owned businesses, if you walk in and want to talk to the owner of Chestnut Furniture Company, Bobby Leon would love to visit with you. Not only that, he comes out, he's very knowledgeable about all the products they offer, from chairs and lift chairs and sofas and love seats, dinette sets, dining room furniture, bedding, Tempur-Pedic bedding. Say the word.
accoutrement.
Love that. I love that. They've got it all. Chesney Furniture Company celebrating
Starting to
100
scare
years
me
in downtown.
with your reaction to me saying that. I'm gonna have to stop saying it.
I'm all a
You're
quiver.
kind of sending me Joe Biden vibes.
Ryan, stop it. By the way, your neck smells amazing. The Chesney Furniture Company, 100 years. Get down there and celebrate with them, and it'll be worth your Chesney and love. Make your house a home, and you just do better at Chesney.
So Tara Reid yesterday, speaking of Joe Biden,
She must be believed.
She decides to go on Megyn Kelly and tell her story. She's also opened up somewhat to one of the Associated Press reporters who broke the Harvey Weinstein story. So she's finding those she's comfortable with telling her story. And apparently, and some of the stuff that sort of came out of this last night, she reported it to whoever she needed to on Joe Biden's staff back in '93. She also told her husband at the time what had happened.
Right.
And Joe Biden continues to deny it, saying it didn't happen. And then turns around and says, but we must believe women. And
Right. And he says, I believe in her right to come forward and say whatever she wants. Really, Joe? Do you really believe in her right to come home and come forward and slander you?
and I'm going to give her the same treatment I gave Christine Blasey Ford with Kavanaugh. Let's get this into a forum where we can hear what's going on and make a decision as to who we feel is telling credible story and who isn't. And but it's amazing that the media has run away from that, because and that wasn't even the standard they were holding Christine Blasey Ford. They were saying she must be believed. He did it. He's a bad guy. And it was purely political. And they've done a 180 on this one. Well, we can't believe her because it's Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's our guy.
And he's always been a champion of women's rights, although they've got 7 or 8 different women who say that he was inappropriate with them.
None to this degree. And I saw a headline on that the other day, and then you read the story, and it was like, well, he was standing a little close to me. It made me feel uneasy.
I would have to defend Joe on that. You're a grown woman, move away from him.
You know, and we don't know the situation. They could have been there for a photo op.
Yeah.
If he was touching their neck and doing that weird thing that he does, then maybe. But if you're just in the room with him and he gives you a creepy vibe, leave the room.
You know, though, you look back, and President Obama had a really abysmal run with his Congressional Medal of Freedom recipients. I mean, he gave it to Joe. He gave it to Weinstein. He gave it to Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's still alive.
Yeah.
But in prison.
You know what's interesting?
Yellow pudding. You think he's telling jokes in there?
I looked at the list of those recipients over time.
Yeah, I've done that too. Some of them
Some of them are weird.
Some of them are weird.
Some of them are as shady as Bill Cosby, and others that, Obama's not the only one who gave it to people who then turned out to be less than stand-up characters and losers like Bill Cosby and others. So, and then the jury's still out on Joe Biden. I guess we'll see what happens.
Are we going to accept ours when they call us?
And
will we go?
We can't right now. We can't be in the same room with all of them. So it'll be a virtual.
By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Donald Trump's hair, to me, has become decidedly gray. It's much more silver. It's not blonde like it was.
It was never blonde. It was orange. It was as orange as your cap.
Well, it was his face. It was so orange. I don't know what kind of Clinique bronzer he's using.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. So we've got our first case of COVID stimulus fraud out there. Two dudes in Rhode
two
Island.
dudes.
Yeah.
Listen to these guys. These are like this is Dumb and Dumber.
David Stavely, aka Kurt Sanborn.
I mean,
when you go from Kurt Sanborn to David Stavely, you're up to no good.
He should have been.
You're hiding something.
David Sanborn.
You know, you're hiding something. Another family, a dual life,
something.
I mean, that's not an AKA. Somewhere along the way, you read these. Somebody put a D in there, and his name was Sanborn. That might have been AKA because he would have been known as that on a document somewhere and never decided to fix the typo.
Right.
That's a mistake that might happen. I've had letters taken off my name on I usually end up correcting it because I like it to be correct, but
right.
But when you're David Stavely, aka Kurt Sanborn, just my little spidey senses start tingling.
Something's wrong. So
these guys applied for $500,000 in paycheck protection loans, the PPP, which is what the Paycheck Protection Program loans.
Right.
$500,000 saying that they had dozens of employees in 4 different locations. Well, according to the DOJ and the arrest, and they didn't have any employees, and I'm not even sure they even had 4 businesses.
You're not going to get away with that stuff.
No.
This is way too technological. So
this is the first one. I'm sure there's going to be more. We're going to hear more of this because anytime the government gets involved in giving out money, people are going to try to find a way to, this is a little bit more fraudulent than Ruth's Chris, but the intent on Ruth's Chris still seemed rather ill-intended on the way I look at it. Well, gee, we thought it was just 500 employees per location, not overall.
Yeah.
And we need $30 million.
Kind of silly.
Yeah.
There's Toya Stone checking in.
Maybe if you lower the price on that steak, you wouldn't need so much money from the government. People could eat there. Morning, Chris Jansen. So I don't know. We're gonna see more.
Yeah, but you're gonna see more and more people get caught.
And I hope they do. And I hope they're stuck in the stock at Dealey Plaza and we let kids throw tomatoes at them.
From the grassy knoll.
I still think there's something to some public shaming.
Yeah, I think so too.
When folks get caught doing these, quote, victimless crimes like this.
What about caning? Was that Puerto Rico?
No, I think that was over in India where they were caning people for breaking their strict stay-at-home orders. Here's the thing. When they put those in place, if you were in the city at work, you couldn't get to Shantytown somewhere to go back home to your family. You were stuck where you were. Those are weird. Philip Barone, he would know. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a criminal.
He is a rocket scientist.
Yeah. He would know. He is in law enforcement, and he's dealt with his fair share of criminals. Kirsten Snell, good morning.
Philip Barone, a.k.a. Stephen Stavely. Where does that come from? It's like, let's just make him Dumb and Dumber. Just make him a new alias.
That's just David Stavely, a.k.a. Kurt Sanborn.
Right. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Doesn't it, though? Or maybe that's what he was going for. He wanted to actually have 2 separate identities. I bet you that I shouldn't libel or slander the guy, so I won't.
Let's see, what is it? Libels and print.
Yeah, this would be
slander. Spoken word. It's hard for you to do. You're just giving your opinion about a.
Why would you have 2 identities? 2 separate lives, 2 social security numbers.
Clearly, you're up to something.
It certainly would seem like it, wouldn't it?
Clearly, you're up to something.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of not wanting to libel or slander, today's a great day to go to Veracruz.
Last day of the week, folks.
It has nothing to do with libel or slander, but it got you thinking.
It did.
Today is the last day of the week. You need to get to Veracruz today. Get Veracruz to go. Call today. Call this morning.
576-6015 is the number.
Put in the number. Put in the call for a enchilada casserole. It'll get you through the weekend.
Put it in your phone. A enchilada casserole.
Right. And then you've got
it's right there at the top.
576-6015.
Even though that's not grammatically correct, it would be an enchilada casserole.
Razor. Razor IT Solutions. Thank you.
That end might throw you off when you're.
That's an opportunity. No, Razor IT Solutions, reach out to JP Hall if you need studying of your analytics, if you want to know. In fact, I may send you some stuff on us. Seems like our numbers are growing, but I want to know why they're growing. I want to know where they're growing. I want to know where we're getting more and more viewership from. And I think that's the way to do it. JP can do that for you. Analytics, he can. We may get to the point where we say, we play that Sarah McLachlan in the arms of
Yeah.
stranger. And then we might need a pay button. Please just donate now. Keep Wade Carter on the air. Help us.
Keep away from everyone else.
Help us stay on the air. Please. Sally Field, help us. JP can help you with that.
Sally Struthers, feed Wade and Carter.
Right. The Atzenhofer dealership, feed them. You talk about crazy deals. They're stacking them deep and selling them cheap. Get out to Atzenhofer, get the Atzenhofer online, do your studying, narrow it down to 3 or 4 units and go by and give them a look. They're doing all the precautions for you. They're wearing a mask, so you don't have to. Go by and see the Atzenhofer dealer now. Chevy,
Today.
Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi.
Right now, you can view them online at Atzenhofer.com.
Absolutely. Go check it out. You'd be glad you did. White Trash Services, 550-1826. BJ Nelson.
I got an interesting email from BJ.
The history of trash.
Yeah, history of the garbage man. So we'll get into that. I'll read some of this over the weekend, and we'll deal with some of this next week.
But between now and then, if you need a roll-off
Yeah.
dumpster, if you need a trash service in the county, if you need a dumpster for your next project, 550-1826. It's a competitive business, and they're winning the fight. So reach out to White Trash Services.
Have a trash-tastic day.
Compadres Inc. Compadres Design. Those folks that built our banners and built these shirts.
And built our logo.
We're going to be doing some new things with them, and those are going to be creative and fun and will be available to you.
So look at John Houghton speaking French for you. David Stavely must have been his nom de guerre.
What does that mean?
Basically his second name.
Oh. Is Gare 2 or second? How did you know that?
When you're a poet, what is it? Nom de plume? Is that right? De plume? Something like that? That's your poet name? I don't know. Something like that. I remember vaguely from 8th grade English. So we haven't really talked sports since there have been no sports.
We've evolved past sports.
Yep.
We're now an international content-driven media
That doesn't care
source.
about sports.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let that fool you. UHV signs a couple soccer players. I mean, we're still planning, that we're still planning like the fall is going to happen as we would expect the fall.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way. You've got to be prepared to go at it, because if we're given if they drop the green flag and we're going, we're going.
What were the young kids' names? There's 2 that are coming. They were important.
I
One
don't remember their names.
one of them, his last name is Polio.
Yes.
That'll be in the local paper. Wade brings polio to Victoria. That'll be the big deal.
That'd be a good headline.
That'd be a great headline.
Caught a lot of attention. Tom Price checking in. Patrick Welder says, can you believe it took 2 months for 2 men to get arrested for murder caught on camera? We were going to get to that.
Yeah.
Let's get to that kind of after the sports in our last segment, because we've got some pretty interesting theories and stuff. But,
Very interesting.
the golf season has basically been canceled. I think they're going to try to get something going in June, if I'm not mistaken, right? NASCAR is supposed to be kicking up in a couple of weeks. IndyCar is going to open its delayed season June 6th here in Texas. So that's a good thing. Certainly for the Texas economy and for sports fans. You're going to have a lot of people who don't even watch IndyCar or any sort of car racing tuning in, because that's all there is.
And it's a great opportunity, if they do it right, to get a whole new fan base.
Yeah, no, it really is. And some of the technology in that is really cool. And it's interesting because the NHL, while not taking exactly NASCAR type technology, they're using that sort of, well, they were planning to unveil it this playoffs, and that didn't happen, but similar type of things where you're going to find out how fast somebody's skating on the ice. They're going to be able to isolate a certain player. You're going to be able to see who the players are.
It'll be like a little arrow
Yeah,
following
kind
a
of with their name and stuff.
window.
Yep.
So tell me
Some of that
this.
stuff is pretty cool. But one of the biggest impacts from the PGA season being canceled is the impact that it's having on the local charities where all these tournaments are usually held, because that's probably the one thing people don't realize with the PGA tournament is the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a year that's generated in local economies for charity because of the works of the PGA players
Tour.
and the sponsorships and the tour. So, not only are donations down because everybody's feeling the economic pinch from the COVID crisis, but now your charities are starting to suffer because the PGA is not in certain spots and huge.
So what do you think is going to happen at the individual PGA Tour player level? I mean, these guys are essentially independent contractors who play on the PGA Tour. What happens if there's no tournament to play? I mean, they can't get a game at their local club. Are these guys just without income? And are there sponsors that, what's the Australian kid, good-looking kid that won the – I can see him. He's sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, and I wonder, is Mercedes still sending him a check every month?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he can live on the sponsorship money. Trust me.
Most of them do.
But are they still getting a check?
Your top 50 to 100 players are Adam Scott?
Yeah, is he still getting paid by
That's a good question.
Mercedes-Benz and all those people?
I mean, are they asking for that money? Well, I don't know what they do. I mean, they're kind of a personal appearance type of contract or personal services. So I think they're set that way. The ones who are probably struggling are those guys that 100 to 150 range that need to make the cut every year to keep their livelihood going. Those are the ones that are impacted the most. My heart's breaking with news that came out last night that the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Randy Ambrosie, who's former player, said it's getting to be more and more likely that the 2020 season is going to have to be canceled. And that kills me. And they don't have the luxury of being a fall football season like the NFL.
Yeah.
Training camps were set to open in a couple of weeks. The league was set to kick off end of June. By the time the NFL is kicking off the season, the CFL season's halfway over, and
there'll be asterisks around all these records, the next couple of years.
And the interesting thing, the last time sports leagues canceled championships, seasons, you almost have to go all the way back to either the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, 1919, or World War II.
I think what you'll see in baseball, not that we care about sports at all here, but what you'll see in baseball is there'll be some minimum numbers implemented before records will count. For example, let's say that you start off and you say we're going to play a 50-game season. And some guy starts off crazy hot and he's batting .438, and it happens annually.
Well, they have it already. They have minimum at bats. So I don't see how here's the way I see that playing out, because we did something similar with the NAIA this year with the shortened seasons. Your individual stats will stand. Maybe individual game records would stand.
Right.
Season records
runs in a game.
Yeah, but season records would not stand. If you hit 500 through the 50-game season, there's no way that's going to be the new mark for the highest batting average in a season. It's just you played a third of.
It's illogical.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So that's how I see that playing out. And we came to that decision on the subcommittee that I'm on with the NAIA. That individual accomplishments, team record wins and losses will count, but there's no way you can wrap a season record into, or career records could stand.
Right.
You hit, you become the all-time, Major League Baseball strikeout batter.
Johnny Hawk says there's supposed to be a Woods and Manning versus Nicholson and Brady. It's actually Nicholson, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather watch Jack Nicholson and Tom Brady. That would be more fun.
Yeah. Well, I think the Sunday before Memorial Day, that weekend, the Sunday Memorial Day weekend, isn't that the next Tiger-Phil Mickelson showdown?
Yes, and I think who won the first one? Didn't Phil win it?
No, I thought Tiger won it.
I don't know. Tiger.
I didn't watch because they only wanted $80 million a person to watch that thing.
Tiger's won so many more tournaments. I mean, bless his heart. Phil is a distant second.
Christy Henry checking in, Michael Jolly, Patricia Nagel, Jeremy Pena. Just to give you an idea, the Houston Lifestyle or the Rodeo Houston was canceled back in early March, 2 days in, they decided to pull the plug on it.
Yep.
The Calgary Stampede has been canceled. There is a group of athletes that are absolutely getting no attention on how the season being canceled or postponed is hurting them. Your professional cowboys and cowgirls, the barrel racers, and your rodeo cowboys.
It's now Amarillo by Greyhound.
Yeah, I mean, they are doing.
They're
not doing
starving
anything.
to death.
And, I mean, these are the epitome of hardworking athletes who need to get a paycheck every week to keep it going. And a lot of them don't have anything.
Johnny Houghton says, talk to text. Fails me again.
Yeah, it always does.
JP heading to the Frio for the weekend. Good for you,
Nice.
sir.
Good for you. It should be. I've heard there's not much water in the Frio.
That's okay.
Yeah. That might change this weekend because you're heading there.
Everybody drinks
Might
so
have
much
that
beer.
Eeyore luck.
They drink
Rains
so
on you.
much beer there now. They go sit in that one little puddle and pee, and the next thing you know, there's an
Water's up
88
your neck.
degree water that feels like a hot tub out there.
So, oh man, now Lemire checking in. Good morning to you. So I just, it's gonna be interesting to see how hockey or the NBA or the NFL looks with nobody in the stands to watch the games. And they were talking about that with Major League Baseball. I heard some people saying, you know what, if you show up and you present symptoms of any sort of illness, hey, sorry, we're not letting you in. Here's 2 tickets to another game when you're feeling better. They'll do it discreetly. They'll kind of pull you. I mean,
Wait a minute. We could go to Minute Maid, walk up and go, and then I'd hand us 2 tickets.
no, I think you've got to actually have tickets. Yeah.
Man.
But that was one of the things that they were saying that is, going to be a likely outcome of this. You bought tickets in good faith. How they have a right to refuse your service, but they can't just say, well, your ticket, you've done.
Right.
They're going to have to find ways because and they even said, you know what? Sports teams are going to end up ticking off a lot of fans. And it may come to a point where, and going to set itself up for probably some lawsuits. Because there may be some age discrimination. Some of those midday nursing home outings to various, to ball games and things that happen at the minor league level for sure.
Right.
But even Wrigley Field on a midday might have a similar outing.
A group of fans from.
Yeah. And I heard they're saying those types of things might have to be eliminated or certainly put on hold for a year or two. To a point. I mean, what's worse, keeping them away, or all of a sudden, well, on the heels of a visit to Wrigley Field, 80 people at such and such old folks home all contract COVID and die.
Right.
That's the balancing act that sports franchises are going to have to.
It doesn't seem fair because they also had to watch the Cubs play.
There's that too. At least it wasn't the White Sox.
Did you see Pete Montana checks
Morning
in?
to you, Pete. I mean, there's always that group of 80 from the old folks home were shot on their way to Comiskey.
Right. Family members expressed gratitude that their parents no longer had to suffer through Cubs games.
Or White Sox games.
Wow. The White Sox.
You won't suffer through anything at Uncle Mutt's Barbecue.
That was a fantastic
Thank you.
impromptu. Brisket, ribs, chicken, sausage, and turkey. What's your favorite?
Ribs.
There you
Ribs,
go.
ribs.
Uncle Mutt's.
And the sweet corn and
rice.
the rice.
They've got the sweet corn. They've got all the pea salad, coleslaw, potato salad. Just a phenomenal experience. And you can call up, place an order for the weekend. By the way, they're open on Saturday and Sunday. But you can say, hey, I want 2 pounds of brisket and 2 pounds of sausage and a pound of turkey. And you can throw it in the fridge in a tin so you don't lose it. And the next thing you know, you can
Fold
eat
it up in your pocket.
There's nothing better than a nice, I'll even eat it cold. Get some white bread and mayonnaise, put a little piece of brisket in there, a little bender, a little
And
fold
then
over.
You heat the sauce up just a little bit,
Oh,
just to give you a little bit of warmth.
stop it. You're killing me. Uncle Mutt's. Great, great,
A couple
great.
of pickled onions on there.
Simply the best barbecue in this city, hands
Might be
down.
lunch.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget to reach out to Cheryl at Gray Barn Design. It's time to start thinking about your next Kinsey party, birthday party, wedding, reunion. She can do theme decorating, not just make things elegant and beautiful, but also theme. You want to do a 60s party? Call her. She's got the clothes. Call her.
She is the absolute best designer I know.
There you go. Certainly the best one you've ever
Yeah.
slept with.
And you know
So-
what? If you ever want a Canadian theme, she's the expert.
Oh, it'll just say sorry, 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 all around the room. The balloons. I'm so sorry. You walk in and she's singing, I'm sorry, so sorry.
It's not a Canadian song.
No, but it could be. If Cheryl sang it,
It could be.
there you go.
Canada Day Party,
920.
she's the one.
920-6803. If you want to have, like, anytime there's a holiday, the Canadians always take the next Monday off because they're drunk. Just have
No,
that party.
hungover.
Hungover, I'm
Or
sorry.
drunk on the Sunday
Then they're drunk
and
on
the Saturday.
Unbelievable. On a serious note, wind generators. Great time to be looking at putting a generator in the back to make certain that you've always got power, but also put solar panels on the roof or out on the property. They'll do whatever makes the best sense and whatever's the most economical. And then they store that power into a battery pack. You can't technically put power back on the grid, but what you can do is store it for yourself.
Apparently not in Texas. There are some
Right.
places you can sell it back, but not here.
Because Texas has its own grid.
Yeah. We don't need your power.
We don't need your electric power. That's a great strength for us. But no kidding. Reach out to Went Generators. We're going to have more information on that in the future, but we're proud to have Carl Went and his family business, Aaron Went, great folks, great Victorians, back in the Wade and Carter fold.
Yeah. John Weller brought this up, and we were going to get to it.
Patrick John Walker,
Yeah.
PJ.
Okay. I wasn't sure which. I can't remember.
They're all named
Yeah.
John Walker.
Yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of them.
It's kind of like, how many Tom O'Connors are there? 57.
Ahmaud Arbery, if you've been following the national media, they're all over this story. It's sad that it took almost 3 months for this to get to our national conscience. It shouldn't have ever got there to begin with if the people in Georgia would have done what they were supposed to do.
Correct.
You watched the video. I can't make myself watch
I
videos like
stumbled
that.
upon it and I felt terrible after watching it.
But I've heard from enough folks who've seen the video, and I can trust that, the video pretty much shows things. So Georgia Bureau of Investigation actually, I think, went and arrested the McMichael father-son yesterday.
Like, the dad was a retired police officer and the
Yeah.
son was there. Together they were
DA,
white supremacist idiots.
well, maybe, we don't know for sure.
Well, that's
There's
what they were
rumors of it,
accused
but
of.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know what else you would call it. There's a kid running down the street,
jogging,
25 years old. You're not running from anybody, jogging down the street. And you see
and
this
does it
from-
all the time.
And you see this from a car cam. There's a car that just happened upon it, as I understand. It wasn't a police vehicle. And there's a truck in the middle of the road, maybe 100 yards from where this car is. And as the young man, he's wearing a white T-shirt, and oh, by the way, he's black. He's running, jogging, clearly jogging, exercising, not carrying anything, no hoodie, nothing crazy. And these both doors of this pickup that are parked in the middle of the road, they come open, and you see the kid start to kind of go around. And all of a sudden, he comes back around, and then there seems to be like a little tussle, and you hear boom. And then you see him, he's got his hands like on a shotgun, and this guy finally gets it back and shoots him again. And then there's a third shot. And all this happens in about 8 seconds or less. And you see this kid, he's kind of looks back and he starts to run off, and then he just stumbles and falls, and he dies right there in the street. And authorities have this video, and they know from the vehicle who the two men were. And I'm thinking, Ash, today we talked about the fact that these men claimed self-defense. And I'm like, let me see if I got this straight. There's two of you and one 25-year-old person. You've got a vehicle and you've got weapons
2 guns, a .357 Magnum,
and a shotgun.
and a shotgun.
How are you having to defend yourself against this individual? And I have to tell you, I get tired of all the racism-laced belly aching that we hear in this country. But I'm going to tell you, Ash, if this had been a white guy, 25 years old, running down the street, and two black guys would have got out and shot him with a pistol and a shotgun, this would have been wrapped up a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's just a tragedy that
And if it had been a white guy and 2 more white guys,
probably
same
would have been
thing, wrapped up.
too.
If it had been a black guy and 2 black guys, it would have been another gang shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's how
The stereotype that is prevalent. But the idea that it's a black youth and a young man, there's pictures of him, to his credit or to his honor, I guess, the family and friends put together a webpage that says, we need justice for this kid. Yeah. And I mean, the kid's smile is infectious. He's just a handsome young kid who happened to be a black kid on the wrong part of a Georgia street. And it does not speak well for justice in Georgia.
No, not when it took 3 prosecutors. The first one, apparently, or I think it was the first one, basically said, well, they were justified in self-defense.
That guy ought to lose his job.
You stop a guy running down the street because you claim there might have been a burglary in the neighborhood at some point, and automatically assume this guy's the guy that did it.
And he's carrying nothing.
Nothing.
It's not like he was running with a Sony on his shoulder.
No, nothing. Michael Jolly brings up a good point. Again, why was somebody videotaping this? I mean, it seems to be at the vantage point of the 2 guys in the truck. Nobody's following the jogger along, right?
They are. No. You see him running down the street. You see the truck, and the car is kind of driving through the neighborhood. I don't know. I'm certain that the person that took the video is a person of interest somehow. Like, why were you here? But the video is the car stops when all the shooting starts, and then it ends abruptly when I imagine, some people do drive with like a GoPro and they want to see what's
James Kerr says, third guy recording this didn't do anything.
I don't know what I would be able to do.
What would you do if you didn't have a gun? You're gonna try and do. I mean, I guess you're in a car. You might be able to.
You can maybe ram their truck
towards them, or drive towards them. But
I'm not sure.
Never been in that situation. I don't know how I would react in that situation when there's 2 guys with 2 guns and they're already
they're willing to shoot somebody.
Yeah,
I may follow them at a great distance. I'm certain that I would call 911. But it is interesting that these guys said, no, it was self-defense. And then a prosecutor, without ever going to trial, decided, well, the kid had it coming.
Well, I think it might have been the first prosecutor. Or maybe one of them anyway, or maybe it was an investigator decided that, I can't remember exactly. One of the prosecutors recused himself or herself because the father worked in the DA's office as an investigator.
Right.
Then they brought somebody in from another county whose son worked in that office with the son.
Right.
I mean, it got to be very almost incestuous with how it was going. But this thing is just, and I'm not going to be one of these. Everybody, South Georgia's racist, and the bull crap. These 2 are racist.
That's exactly
right. At the very, it would appear if that's the case. And these 2, not all of South Georgia.
And in all fairness, I'm not trying to come off as falsely empathetic. I mean, if you had to stereotype me, you'd say, oh, he's insensitive. That's fine. The reality is we brought you 2 examples today of things that I think clearly exemplify that racism is still a problem, a large problem. The idea of the 2 ladies in Laredo who happen to be Hispanic, they get arrested and nobody cares. The blonde in Dallas gets arrested. She raises $500,000. Clearly, there's a societal bent that affects justice. I mean, the governor, Lieutenant Dan Patrick, I'll go to jail for that lady. He didn't even bother to call about the 2 in Laredo.
And paid her $7,000 fine.
And then in this case, it really is sickening that a 25-year-old fresh-faced kid just jogging along. I would be just as outraged if my son was jogging somewhere and got shot by anybody. But this kid's 25 years old, happened to be black, and apparently that's the only reason these people shot him. And that makes me really concerned.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
James Kerr, is racism still prevalent in Georgia and other places? It is, and it'll take generations to break the curse, and it will.
That's exactly right.
And I don't know if we ever will.
I'm
There's
not
people
sure.
that can't look past differences in others to see them as human beings.
Which is why I've always been the person that said to those that feel disenfranchised, you got to play the cards you were dealt. in the same breath that I tell you, yes, there are times that the deck is stacked against you. I mean, go ahead and split the eights and double down and let's go. You still got to do what you got to do to make your life better. Folks, we hope you have a great weekend. We always appreciate you sharing your time with us. Hope that we're